Hi everyone and welcome to another video. In today's video I wanted to go through another advice sort of piece, if you like, to follow on from the insurance video that I did that did so well, especially on a small channel like mine. It did do quite well. It was my first video that got over 100 views, so I thought why not do another advice video like it. This video I'm going to do is going to be around what to look for when you're buying a car, as you'll be able to tell by the title, I'm sure. But it's just what I look at when I'm buying a car. I've looked at quite a lot of cars with my old man, looked at a lot of cars with friends, family, things like that when I've been looking. So I thought why not, share a bit of my knowledge on that topic as well. So I do want to say as well that this isn't me saying if you do all these things the car will be fine. I don't want you to take this as gospel and that nothing will happen to a car. Anything can happen, as you know. So it's just one of those things that you've got to sort of take with a pinch of salt, but hopefully the advice I give in this video will help a few people out, help a lot of you out, and hopefully I share some things with you that you might not know yourself. There are a lot of things that you can do when you're looking at buying a car. So I'm going to presume for this video you've seen a used car on the internet, you thinking about making an offer on it, or even going and paying the asking price for it, and that you've got access to the vehicle registration, at least on the actual advertisement that you're looking at. I'll take that registration. So this is the first thing that I do before even picking up the phone to the seller. I'd take that registration and I'd put it on the direct.gov website to check for MOTs. And I'd look through the vehicle history. I'd look through the MOT history, and I'd be looking for two things. I'd be looking for, one, is the vehicle's history nice and spread out, nice and even? Is the mileage nice and even, should I say? And in that, what I'm looking for is that there's no discrepancies, that the car's not being clocked, or it's been stored for ages very recently, which could cause some potential running issues. Mainly to make sure it's not clocked. My cousin bought a Prelude. We think it had about 100,000 miles taken off of it, looking at the MOT history. So I want you guys to learn from that mistake, and hopefully that helps you, gives you somewhere to look, to check, to make sure that you don't get caught out by that. The other thing that I'd be looking at on the MOT history is for corrosion, because JDM life, UK rain, usual stuff. Because the MOT repairers, unless it's a genuine an actual garage, like a dealer approved garage, something like that, or an actual body shop, the repair is going to be purely done for safety and the structure of the vehicle, not for aesthetics and for it to stay looking nice. And that, to me, if you're looking to buy a car to keep, that to me, is something that I'd want to be done correct. And normal backstreet garages that are doing MOT tests don't normally do that sort of thing. They don't normally repair cars for them to look nice and last forever. They do them to make the car safe again, and that's as simple as it gets. They'll make it look okay, but not as good as what it was out of the factory. So after I've done the MOT checks, I'd then look at if the car's a write-off, and you can do this yourself for free by checking on Auto Trader. If you go to do and create a listing yourself, if it's been registered with the DVLA that it's a category whatever write-off in the UK, it's normally brought up on Auto Trader when you try and list the vehicle, and that's how you see when you're scrolling through the Auto Trader the warnings. It's like the Auto Trader website stores them, or it saves them, or it's got connections to the DVLA website. I don't know if that's going to be on there forever, or if you'll have to actually pay the listing fee before you get that information, but I do know at the moment when you go to list a car, it shows up straight away if it's a write-off. So if you want to check a car that's for sale and go to create your own listing, that's an ideal way of checking if the car's been wrote off previously. It's not fully comprehensive. I'm not saying it will always tell you every time, but in my experience it does work 99% of the time. But you can't always go by just that. HPI check's a good thing, but it's chargeable, and that will show you as well things like if the car's got finance on it, things like that. If it's a cheap car that you're looking at, then chances are it's not got finance anyway, so you don't need to do a HPI check, and I haven't in the past. I've just gone on those two things to check any mileage discrepancies and to check if the car's been wrote off. The last thing I'd do, and these are all things before I've even picked up the phone to see to see what the service history is like and stuff like that with the seller. But the final thing that I'd do is I would then look at the buyer's guides online. They have so much information, and it's normally from people that have owned those cars for a number of years, and normally a load of owners have contributed towards those buyer's guides to say, these are all the known issues. They'll be on forums, they'll be on automotive blogs and vlogs on YouTube, all sorts of media coverage, if you like, on buyer's guides nowadays. So they're definitely a good thing to look at and remember for when you're looking around the car, because a lot of the things that you pick out, if they are deal breakers, if you know that they're quick repairs, easy repairs, it could be really good bargaining points. Or if it's a small independent garage, they might even offer to fix them for you. On contacting the seller now, so I've done all my background research, if you like. I'm now contacting the seller. One of the things that I do is I check service history, naturally. If applicable, I'd ask if the timing belt's been done recently. If there's history evidence of that, an invoice, or if they can prove that if they've done it, that they've got the parts, the part invoices and things like that in the history. I'd then ask if any specific servicing to that vehicle's been done, if again applicable, like the timing belt. Some cars don't have belts, but some automatic gearboxes, for example, require oil changes every X amount of miles or every X amount of years. So that's a good thing to check when you're on the phone to them. Now on looking at the car, so I've ruled everything else out, everything's good so far, or it's not a deal breaker, I'm still wanting to have a look at it. I'd then go around the car, checking for scuffs, knocks, things like that, and don't be shy to ask, did that scuff happen? Because if it's a private seller, normally they're very, very knowledgeable about the car, first of all, because it's theirs, and then second of all, they are normally quite honest as private sellers. They might even point out further damage or items that they've replaced. Like if there's a scuff on the corner, they might say, I replaced the headlight, and I've left the scuff as it is. Or the headlight's still damaged, the bracket's broken, but it's fine, it works. It could be a bargaining point for you to get the price down, or just some valuable information when you're looking at buying a car you want to keep. But I'd be checking all the panel gaps, making sure there's an even gap between the bonnet and the wings. Likewise on the bumper to the bonnet, see if it's any kind of frontal impact. I'd be opening the bonnet and checking the landing panel where the bonnet comes down and closes on that panel, checking where the bottom of that panel is, where the radiator sits, making sure that that's not pushed in or anything like that, that it's not had a frontal impact. Lifting the boot carpet up, making sure that the boot floor's all nice, it's not creased, it's not had any bad rear end accidents. While I'm around there, I'll probably put my foot on the exhaust while it's running, check for leaks from the exhaust, especially if it's a loud car. Leaks sometimes are always easy to hear on a loud car. I'd want the car to be cold personally when I go to look at it, just because when the car's cold you can then check to see if it starts up nice and easy from cold. You can check and see if there's any weird noises, and as long as I know that the noises aren't anything serious, if it's the tappets and something that just needs a little bit of TLC, fair enough, but I'd want to make sure it starts well and that the noises aren't anything to be worried about. I'd get the car up to temperature after obviously checking for leaks and things like that, checking the oil, making sure it's not milky. If it's milky, it's normally a telltale sign that the coolant's mixing with the oil, and that's normally the head gasket that's gone, in my experience. Could be an oil cooler, but normally it's the gasket's just gone, and that's a deal breaker if you're looking to keep the car and not break it for parts. If not, you spend a lot of money getting that fixed. I'd check the coolant, making sure there's no oil mixing in the coolant. That's normally an oil cooler, to be fair, but it can be a head gasket as well. But when the car's up to temperature, the thermostat's opened and everything's nice and hot, you might want to put gloves on to do this, but I'd check the pipe coming from the radiator to where the thermostat housing is and see if that's pressurising. That's normally one of the first telltale signs that the head gasket's going. If that pipe's pressurising when everything's, when the car's running, it means that the gas escaping from the combustion chamber into the coolant system and making that that pressure in that pipe, whereas if it's nice and supple, nice and soft, you know, it's just the liquid itself that you're moving around the system, which is always good. So yeah, they're quite, you know, that's a lot of the things that I'd check engine related, making sure that that's running fine. Obviously there's a check engine light on the dashboard. That could be anything from an EGR valve to a sensor of some sort, something like that. That's an easy check. It's obvious on the dash when you're in there. When you're in the car, I'd be checking all the light switches, all the usual things. What else? I'd probably look at obviously the clutch. If the car's in neutral, the clutch pedal's in, that's the thrust bearing. If that's noisy, you can hear the thrust bearing normally. Clutch out, again in neutral. If you can hear that the gearbox is noisy, it's normally the first motion shaft. I check that. I check where the clutch engagement point is, making sure it's not too high. Might be a telltale sign it needs a clutch. Some clutches are adjustable, that might not be the case, but it's always good to check, and it's something that helps if you can't test the vehicle. If you can't take it for a test drive, I'd always ask the seller if you could jack it up. I'd check the ball joints, moving the wheel from top to bottom if you like. I'd put it on full lock. I'd check the steering rack boots, the CV boots, making sure that there's no cracks in those, that they aren't split. Sometimes things like that don't present themselves on test drive, because when a joint's too far gone and it's knocking, you can't just replace those boots, you have to replace the entire joint with the boot. So, but you wouldn't know that those boots are cracked just taking it on a test drive, because it might not have got that bad. On the tyres themselves, you can check the wear. If the tyres are wearing on the outsides, it means they've been run underinflated, in the centre overinflated. If they're wearing on the inner edges, it means you've got too much toe out. If they're wearing on the outer edges, too much toe in, or too much negative or positive camber, and that could be a sign that suspension component's been damaged from an impact at some point, or the car could have just been curbed and the wheel alignment knocked out. But either way, you're replacing tyres, or you're at least getting an alignment done if the tyres are still okay and roadworthy. Obviously tyres themselves can be at a bargaining point. Brakes, you can look through the spokes of the wheel if they're for alloys, for example, and check the sort of level of the brake pads, brake discs. They might need replacing at some point. If they're low and you can see that they're low, then you can use that again as a bargaining sort of point. It's not necessarily a deal breaker to me, tyres and brakes, but a good bargaining point. There are a lot of things that you can look around the car and check in those instances. So they're the sort of things that I check personally. If you do want any more advice videos like this, then give us a heads up on YouTube. If this video was useful, if you found it useful, if you want to share it, feel free to do so. But yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope it was informative. If you found it so, give us a like.